Okay, we are recording. This is David P. France, and I'm coming to you live from Basel, Switzerland. And today, I have my aunt with me. Well, I don't call her aunt, but it's Linda Brown, Linda I. Brown. How you doing, Linda?
Hey, David, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Well, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is because you and I have been talking off and on probably for the past couple of years, and I thought that it was important for people to hear your perspective on what's going on with the situation, the COVID, and also with the protests. And just so you guys know, we've been posting these videos, these interviews on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and also on an alternative social media platform called BitChute. And most of the people that I've been interviewing have been artists or are artists. That includes dancers, singers, musicians, writers, inventors we're looking to interview, thought leaders, small business people, and entrepreneurs. And I think this group of people are important because a lot of these folks know how to create. They are creators, and it's really important that we have these types of people and their voices heard, especially during these times. So Linda is one of these people. And first of all, we're going to talk about what happened to you at the dentist yesterday, because you made a video, which you sent to me. What?
Oh boy! Yeah,
what happened
yeah,
at the dentist?
I think, let me just say, I am not belittling the virus. It's real, okay? My heart goes out to those who have lost loved ones, friends, family. So this is not an attack against the virus. What I am deeply opposed is to how the government has weaponized this virus and is using it to create fear. And fear does a lot of damage. So I had what sparked yesterday was when I had went to another appointment, but I had to go through all the hoopla of getting my temperature checked and answering all these covert 19 questions. Well, when I came out of the eye appointment, they run off your health, report summary. And at the top of this summary, so now they've come out with my chart, your chart, health chart. The bottom line is they've gone tech on us, and you can access your health records via the internet. That opened my eyes. I'm like, wait a minute. This is still tracing and tracking people, and I disagree with this. They got the big stage. I think it may have passed the House, not the Senate, but it's 3 pages. I have went through, outlined. I thank God for my time as a volunteer with Citizen Review Board for Children, where I got introduced to legislative law, writing law, amending. I'm still not great at it, but I understand it. So when I looked at that bill, I'm like, oh, they slick. This is a broad brush bill with hidden agenda. One of which they're asking us to, I'm going to call it the Jehoshaphat counterfeit, because the enemy has figured out how to pit us against each other and do their dirty work. So they've got in there, in order to do this, you have to be trained to ask questions. And basically, I think that's spying on people's rights, private rights. And then the other thing it had in it, they're targeting urban cities and rural country. So who lives in the urban cities mostly, and who lives in the rural cities? So that opened my eye, and I'm like, wait a minute, I need to start reading what I'm signing. So back to the dentist, and I said, okay, come in. You know, they want you to do the mask. Then they're asking all these questions. I'm like, I'm not answering all these questions.
Well,
And I
what
said,
type of
if I'm going
questions?
to sign,
What kind of questions did they ask? Like, for example.
they asked, the first they wanted to check your temperature with this temperature thing. I'm like, have you cleaned that? You're talking about preventing spread. You got this gun you gonna stick up to my head. Did you wipe it off? Do you have covert the virus? I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Do you have the virus? Have you been around anyone with the virus? Have you been exposed? Those types of questions. Have you been out of the country? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm not answering it. If I got to sign that, if I got to answer those questions, I'm going to write at the bottom that it's a violation of my HIPAA rights laws. And this is still tracing and tracking, and I will not have my family traced or tracked. So it turned into a big hoopla. And she kept going in talking to her manager. Finally, the manager came out and they terminated my children who I've adopted. And I thank God they have some challenges, physical disabilities. They terminated it because I would not agree to answer their questions. Now, the manager came out, everybody's got masks on, but the manager. And my kids saw this and they're like, Mom, she didn't have a mask on. I'm like, see, this is just hypocritical. And I guess I'm just going to go here, David, for a minute. The virus disappeared with the rioting. Nobody's practicing social distancing. So what we got here is a real big mess.
Yeah, well, look.
So
let me ask you another question. So, because there's a lot to unpack, right? So,
yes.
You also made a video it was actually your video, which I took and I uploaded to, my platform. And can you talk about some of the things that you were saying in that video? So, for example, one of the things that you were talking about was that we were not seeing the bigger picture of what's happening. We were not seeing what all of the different events and how those events are only being seen as one, in one way, but there's something else happening. Yes. Well, from your perspective, let's put it.
Well, let me lay the foundation as to what I do. I've done a lot of things, but in my latter years, I've become closer in my relationship, my belief in God. And I spent a lot of time in here praying, interceding for whatever comes across my radar. And let me say, we're all, prior to being a born again believer, I used my gifts wrong, okay? And so my gifts started kicking in on the 31st of May, which I know was Pentecost Day. And I have had the opportunity to fellowship with various denominations, one of which is Messianic Jewish people. And for those Christians, I strongly believe in looking at what they have to say, because we don't know the Hebrew, we don't know the Aramaic. So that morning had fallen asleep in my chair. I've been watching all of this around the George Floyd incident. And let me just say right now, I send my condolences to the family, that they've lost their loved one, whatever the circumstances, whatever. And I know there's a lot of stuff floating around behind this gentleman. The bottom line is what we saw on that day was a murder. Okay. And here, like the virus, I feel like the deep state has taken this to another level for their own gain.
Okay. So
and that own gain,
when you use the word deep state, Right. So I'm gonna stop you there. When you say
Mm-hmm.
deep state,
Okay.
explain to the people what you believe the deep state is. Because look, I know what you're talking about, but I think that term has been used, and now I think it's in the mainstream as well.
Yes.
Nobody's really talking
Yes.
about what is the deep state, who are they, and why we should be concerned about this group.
Okay, as I'm talking, let me also take, because people say, oh, you're using this term and everybody's here. Let me tell you something. I don't watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
I have a prophetic gift. I don't like a lot of stuff floating around when I'm praying in my spirit. So I'm in here, I'm praying, I'm listening to the Lord, and the physical, I'm in the spiritual realm listening, and then the physical manifests. And so the deep state is what most people don't understand. This is an elite group of people who are very wealthy. And when you have money, you get to dictate. Just like we see Bill Gates right now floating around talking about this vaccination. He has contributed more money to who? To
Wait a minute, you're stuck there. Hold on a second. Hey, Linda. Linda.
all these, and I just found out that they brought on a massive run things as you would like. And so their plan is to depopulate the earth.
Now,
So these deep state people,
wait a
they
minute.
buy politicians.
So Linda, why would they want to depopulate the earth though? Why do you think that they want to?
Oh God, David, you want me to unpack that?
Well, because somebody's going
From
to
a
say,
spirit,
I'm only picking
okay,
out the
from a
thing that I'm thinking, well, wait a minute,
okay,
depopulate the earth. Why would
okay,
they want to do that? Why is it in their benefit, I
okay,
guess, to depopulate the earth?
okay. I'm always from a spiritual perspective because this is what I do. I pray and the Lord releases.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go back to Genesis 1 and the creation of earth and creation of man and mankind, and the enmity between the woman and the serpent. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so, oh God, David, we might have to do this another day, but let me
Well,
just say the
give me a
goal,
brief. A brief.
okay, the goal of the devil
Uh-huh.
is to destroy human life and replace it, because the devil doesn't have the spiritual powers God would have it to oh God, to make human life. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
His DNA is, let me just say, his DNA is polluted. It's not all human.
Okay.
And so there's a part in the Bible that talks about Nephilims. They were giants, and
Mm-hmm.
they were birthed because of how they came to be. And
Mm-hmm.
so they were giants. They were misformed. And so, oh God, how can I put this simply? Their goal is to replace God's people,
People.
humankind, with their kind. And
Okay.
they're not all human.
I got it.
And so birth, here we go. Let me fast forward to the technology that we're leading to,
Uh-huh.
which is AI and robotic.
Okay.
Okay. And I happened to see HBO's, there was a series, and they did a prank in a conference. They had what they call these human sleeves. They look really fleshly. They look like people. And I'm like, this is evil. Okay. Then I happen to have briefly did an intern with Sheila Zulinski. And I did an article on, she's real popular on YouTube.
And who is she? What does she do? Sheila.
She's Sheila Zulinski. She's well known for, she's got her finger on the pulse of what's going on here in the country and around the world. She exposes a lot of stuff that, what's going on with the virus, a whole bunch of stuff. I don't want to get it. But she's got her finger on the pulse. So I did an article on AI, and they're, people, we need to wake up, because I know everybody who's watching this has come in contact with automated bill paying. And I'm like, slowly they're going to alleviate having humans touch, a human voice to talk to, and they're going to replace it with an AI or a robot. So this is kind of the direction that the deep state elite are moving towards, eliminating people, the population. And I call it slow genocide, because they're not just coming at us from one angle. They have, your educational system, even with we see with this virus, they're just, even the pitting of races, where you're seeing people die, as a result of some of the things going on. This is all trying to, let's go back to the virus. They had speculated that all these people were going to die. And I just watched a video of a nurse who happened to be in Amherst Hospital in New York. People were coming in healthy and dying from the virus. And the medical records of what they came in, they were tested they were negative, right. And then they have the virus. So these things are all depopulating. I think it's irresponsible of New York to do what they did, where they put seniors who were sick in nursing homes. These are all ways to get rid of people, kill people.
So look, let's back up. So in the video that you did yesterday, you're talking about the dentist, and the dentist asked you to do all these things, like whether they could take your temperature, whether they could ask questions of you. You needed to sign some paperwork regarding these questions at the end, I guess, before your children could be receive the dental care. And when you opposed doing that, then the manager was called, and eventually what happened is that your children's appointments were terminated. Were they terminated from the office so they can't go back?
First, she told me that we would set a later date in October.
Okay.
Then she came back out and said, we're going to, they terminate, they're not going to treat my children. As the result of me this is not a mandatory situation, right. As a result of me not complying with what they wanted.
Right. And what they received their instructions from whom, like the state or the government? I mean, that's sort of where
they're following the CDC guidelines.
Okay,
which
so now
tells you it's not mandatory, right. But they leave it up to
the individual businesses.
And organization. Yes.
Right. Wow. I mean, look, we are in a mess, right? And yes. Let me go to the second video. The second video, what I recall is that the bigger picture that you're talking about, and you explained it a bit here, that it is your belief that there is a bigger planet that folks don't see. And it is not just a black-white issue. It's basically a human issue. And in the bigger picture, there is a depopulation going on. And one of the things that I can connect with you on is that things have been happening over a long period of time that have been almost a depopulation of sorts. We can specifically see in the United States now. It used to be that things didn't happen in the United States, but from at least 9/11 until now, we can, if we look at the whole picture, everything that has happened, I think it's very clear. And even if another thing is that you're saying, even if, there was COVID, they're using COVID as an opportunity to further their agenda, as they are doing with George Floyd.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's sad because we can't see that, and through prayer And I'm writing a book, and I need to finish on racism. It's called The Empowerment of Willie Lynch and Sagging, the Destruction of a Nation. And as I'm writing this, the Lord is saying, it's a formula. Pit and divide is a formula. It doesn't matter if they put a new dress on it, it's still the same pit and divide. For anyone who hasn't read the Willie Lynch letter, and I'm not going to get into whether it was real, whether it was not, I happen to think the language is too fresh for the date of the document.
But specifically, the Willie Lynch letter is for people that are
supposed to have been back in 18-something. This foreigner came and landed in Jamestown to tell the people how to make a slave, how to keep their Black population, their slave population in control.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if fear is injected in this. And my tagline is, fear is wedged between the races, and no one is exempted. Not the white people, not any people of color. Because, and I said in that video on the 31st of May, we do not know how to fight. Okay? There's a spiritual battle, there's a physical battle. But the physical battle, we don't know how to fight, because the best way to wipe out your enemies is to have your enemies turn on each other.
Yeah.
And so what you have here is a pit and divide using, and I'm sick of them using our Black people as the vehicle to drive racism. We are the catalyst to everything. And we have brought into the fear and the fear has blinded us that we cannot see that we're being used to be pitted against one another. So what you have is you have the big bad, the Black people are the bad people, and the white people, some of them are in fear of the Black people. So you've got this separation and ongoing battle of segregation.
Yeah.
So now you got the Black people asking white people to kiss their feet and bow down and repent. This is nonsense.
And why is it nonsense? Why is it nonsense?
Because it's keeping this formula of pit and divide in place. The only way you win a war is if everybody stands up as one, take these arrows out of these demon people's hands, and stand and say, we're not going to do this. And you're done. Okay? You're done because when you take the weapons out of the enemy's hands, they don't have nowhere to go. So look, they can't fight you.
We're going to go back to this. I want to make sure that people have your background.
Okay.
Because we just jumped in and started talking. And they're like, who's she? And, I know she's David's aunt, but what else is going on there, right? So just so you guys know, Linda is most of the members of my family are artists. That's, I think, the core, I'd say, art and community. Yes. That's the core of, what we stand for, I guess. I would put that as our, the Brown family thing. And Linda, you've been working in the community. First of all, you've done a lot of different things artistically. You've been working in the community even before Georgia, from Maryland and Baltimore. You were in New York for a short time at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology. I think you were getting an associate or something like that, right?
Yeah, I got that in fashion design.
Yes. You've designed costumes, you've designed clothing, you've designed, you also have sculpted. I remember that was a while back when I was much younger. You were able to do that. You've had exhibition. I mean, like you and I, we've had a similar path. Mine is more, I guess, in dance. You've done, fashion design, community, and then now you're in the word, and you are, I would say, a thought leader. So I'm going to let you explain to the people.
Okay. At 14 years of age, I started in the Bureau of Recreation as a volunteer. So I've been working with people, and I don't mind sharing my age. I turned 65 on the 29th of May.
Mhm.
I'm having to wrap my mind around it, but that'll give you an idea of how long I've been in this, okay? So, and volunteerism is still a huge part of my life, although for the last 9 years, I haven't, because I've adopted children out of this system, out of Baltimore system. And being a full-time mom with children with challenges is very challenging. So, but I had, at the age of 14, started the Bureau of Recreation. By 16, I was practically running the half of the center as an assistant director, but I was too young to even be employed at that. But, you know, sometimes money is not always the answer. It brought me joy, and I enjoyed doing it. I worked with children. Every summer I would get 150 kids like clockwork. I had the largest groups. I always had to have more peers working with me, because I couldn't divide myself amongst 150 kids. I had to spread myself. So I love working in the community. From there, I went to FIT, got my AAS degree. With that, was considered a Willie Smith candidate. I didn't get it, but at that point, I didn't care. I had a son. He's in California, very successful in what he does. And I moved back, got my first business partnership. My son must have been about 3. Had a tailor consignment shop. I've worked in the retail industry. I don't care to see another mall. I'm not a mall person. I can't, when you've worked in retail and you've done all the holidays and everything, I'm done. Okay. Got married. Marriage didn't last long. Put myself back into school at Hollins University. Got my BA in art history, and moved back to Maryland, where I had prepared to take care of my mom. And when she passed in 20, I've been teased by one sister who
You're kind of breaking up. Hold on.
on to be with the Lord. She would call me Miss Politician. Even cooking meals. I believed in cooking meals, not fast. But in the midst, prior to going back to college, I always wanted to go to school to become an attorney and then go into politics. But the Lord shut the door on that. So I said, well, I'll go get my master's and then my PhD. And the Lord said I didn't need any more degrees. So in a funny sense, God brought me full circle back into the foster care system, where I became the first elected president for the Baltimore City foster parent. In so many words, I can understand what the president is going through, because I was an outsider that won the seat of president and upset their apple cart, because they had expected this guy to win it. He didn't. I got it. And it was pure hell for the whole time that I was president. Okay. I thank God. You got to know your seasons. You know when the Lord has his hands on you. I was protected, but I knew my term there was waning.
Was limited.
And I told the liaison that was working, I said, my season still is up. She said, you can't leave. I said, oh, I got to go, because if I don't, they'll kill me. I had to battle social services, the leadership there. I had the group homes coming to me for help. I had mended the fruit that was wounded from the prior president, who happened to be a woman of God. And so I had fruit. Okay. So I left. And at that time, I still have foster parents that call me. Anything goes wrong, they call me. So just because I may not be visible, or it looks like that, oh, she don't know what she's talking about, I got a track record in the community. God has graced me with the ability to step in and problem solve. So that's why I can see what's going on right now, because I can
Mm-hmm.
step in and get to the root of the thing and see it. And people who have those gifts are not people that are always welcome, because sometimes you can see things are real close, and sometimes you can see things are far off, and sometimes I may know it's far off, and sometimes I don't. So it makes it look like I'm completely off my rocker and don't know what I'm talking about, but I can attest to everything that God has shown me. It comes to pass.
Mm-hmm.
So what we don't see is we're being played here.
Yes. Well, let me I'm thinking of something else. It's like you brought up so many different things. You said you know what this current president is going through. For people who already are mad because, because of what you're saying, and
Yes.
those who are not, what is going on with from your perspective, what do you think is going on with President Trump? His situation, his current situation.
Okay, I will tell everybody my choice to support him is clearly spiritual. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if Paul becomes a Saul and the Lord say, that's it, I'm out of here and I'm on to the next agenda. But let me share how I came to the place of supporting him spiritually, okay? Before there was a Trump on public display about the presidency, I formed my LLC business, which is Brown Family Legacy, 5 loaves and 2 fishes. The Lord gave me a massive plan. I laid it out. And one of the things that he said, in my guiding and writing these plans was made in America. Okay. And this was back in 2014. Again, I'm not a TV watcher. I did know about his Apprentice show. So I'm like, I'm not voting for this joker. This Apprentice, blah, 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 blah. And the Holy Spirit checked me in my spirit. When Trump came on scene, he said, what is he talking about? I said, make America great again. He said, what did I give you? Made in America. I said, okay, Lord, I surrender, Uncle. Okay. And, with the state of how America is, the mess that has been formulated for the past 50 years of both parties, okay, because not one party has clean hands,
Right.
okay. We needed a businessman to straighten out what's going on in America. We needed a man that had a backbone, who was willing to fight, okay? Yes, he's rough around the edge, and yes, he doesn't have boardroom language, but guess what? We don't have boardroom situations here. It calls for radical change.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got a president who can, let me just say, we all have been groomed for purpose. This man has been groomed for purpose. That, we forget about our journey, those of us who call ourselves Christian, where we came from. God is a good God. He forgave all our sin background. So what you have here are people sticking to what he used to do,
Mm-hmm.
okay? We have people in glass houses with not stones, boulders, throwing it at him because, he did this. He's on Twitter. He's doing, this man, and I keep telling people, this is not a dumb man, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He has peeped the deep state's card, and he is giving them their own medicine, and they know it. And they know that they're going down, okay? So I support this man. However, he has to get the job done, get it done, because America is hanging by a thread. I also know, I know people like, well, Obama did this, Obama did that. Yeah, he played his part, and I'm telling you, and I know people don't want to hear it. Deep State has a playbook, okay? This playbook that Obama has gotten paid for is the black man did it. Okay. And I'm telling you, just as I'm sitting here, when they finished running there, they done ran the covert. Okay. Now we got, okay, George Floyd. There's a lot of stuff going on, indictments and arrests to come for treasonous acts against America. The next card, when it's Obama's time to come and he starts being publicly outed, they're going to pin this racial tag on them. All they're going to see is the black, they're blaming us again, okay? But you have to understand why he was in office. They really expected a woman, the next playbook, to be president, which was Hillary. Thank God she didn't get in. So you have to see beyond. The Lord told me back in 2000, this is a chess game against the families that have money and that they split and they're pitted against us. I'm talking about the wealthy people who run this country. And what we have right now is a chess game. And we're pawns. And they're using us. So
wait.
Trump up at the apple cart.
So you think I may put words in your mouth. You believe, when people are acting out, and we'll get to the George Floyd and what Candace Owens was talking about. When people start acting out as a result of what they see on television,
yes,
that's part of being a pawn.
Yes.
Right. And when they're going and destroying neighborhoods and businesses, they're playing their part as pawns. And pawns are the people that on the chessboard are the first to go when trying to protect the rest of the board, right?
Yeah, they garden the let's say they garden the hen house, okay? I have expressed this with some, looking at this. I mean, we are really in a battle here. We're really in a real battle here. And the Lord had let me know, symbolically, he'll give me scripture. And I've had words with people about this, that the 10 horns, there are 10 horns, 3 were wounded. And the Lord referenced, he said, this is Bill, Hillary, and Obama. They're going to be wounded, okay? Wounded. This, I believe, is the season where the beast gets wounded. But let me tell you, whatever is at the tip, and he showed me a pyramid, and he showed me the tip of the pyramid. Once all of the peon players were pulled out of the bottom, this pyramid would collapse, and the tip of this pyramid would implode upon the whole pyramid, destroying it. I honestly believe the fight right now, the gatekeepers are Bill, Hillary, and Obama. And I think once we break through those gates, some things are going to tumble.
Now, okay, look, I'm going to, before you go on, just so you know, we've talked a lot. So there are going to be people that listen to this video. And for the first time, even though this is, information is widely available through a variety of sources, this is going to be the first time that they hear somebody like you saying this particular type of information, right? So, and one of the things that we share is that, one of many, I've also been the first to share certain information to groups of people before they're ready to hear it.
Yes.
Are there any examples that you can give to someone who's like, I don't know what she's talking about?
Okay.
An example that would be clear enough for people to be able to see a little bit more about what you're saying in terms of this bigger picture.
Okay, let's go back to what I saw with the death of George Floyd, if I might use that. As I said, I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't have a lot of people chewing in my ear about certain things. I don't even listen to a whole lot of prophets, because whatever God's going to give me, I want him to give it to me, and then he'll confirm it. So when I saw on the video this horrific murder of George Floyd, and I looked at that cop's face, and I said, something is off. This is very off. I had a situation where I know if you got your knee or arm on somebody's throat, they can't breathe. And I'm looking at the intensity in his face, and I'm like, something's not right with this. this is murder.
Mm-hmm.
Something's not right to this. I'm not buying into the stuff that's floating around right now. So I saw people protesting.
Uh-huh.
Okay, which we have a right to protest.
Right.
But then I saw the rioting and the looting, and I'm like, are you kidding me? You're tearing down your own community over this? Something's not right with this.
Mm-hmm.
It's something not right with it. And this is what I cried. I think I cried from the time 1:30 in the morning until the time I got on to do the video. And the Lord just fast forwarded and he showed me exactly what was going on. You had instigators and people who had infiltrated the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter, okay? Stirring the pot, okay? How does a pile of bricks neatly packed, stacked in the middle of streets show up? That, to me, showed that somebody planned this.
You mean the marching?
The marching with the protest, because it turned from a right to protest about this, okay, to rioting and burning up your neighborhoods. And I'm like, are you people paying attention? Because they got the covert, they done shut us down, okay, now they let us out, okay, now they still want to control us, okay, now they're telling businesses what they can do and can't do. And so now you come out and protest, and now this protest is turned to rioting, looting, and burning down your own neighborhood, okay? The whole scheme is for us to be dependent on the deep state.
The government.
Yes, yeah. The government.
Mm-hmm.
So they wrap their little gems in their plots and plans to take us down, to keep us oppressed, and to keep us in control. So when I looked at this, the Lord said, look at it again. And I can look at things and look at the symbolism of what's going on. I don't have all the pieces, but why would you put your knee on a man's throat? To silence him? And I have been saying, what did George know and what did he see? Mm-hmm. How is it that two men can work in the same place and not have some type of relationship? I said, there's something more going on to this. I didn't know. So then the Lord said, look at this and look at it good. And he said, what does this look like? There's a term called buck breaking in mm-hmm. slavery.
Yes.
Where the master would straddle the strong, strapping black slave, male slave, over something, mm-hmm. and he would begin to emasculate the strong black man. Mm-hmm. And he would rape them in front of his people. Mm-hmm. And this was a warning to the other people: don't try it, stay in your place. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so when the Lord brought that to me and I said, oh my God, this was a warning sent to the black people. Stay in your place, because we have an election where we will lose, because the likelihood that this president will win another 4 terms is very great. So what we have is a plan to thwart the election by keeping the black people in place. They need our votes.
So let me say something and compliment to what you just put out. What I can see is that the Democrats are reliant on the black vote, for sure, which you already said, but much, much more than what we actually realize.
Really?
Right. So they're trying to orchestrate, from what I can see, they're using the crises to orchestrate a particular narrative so that they can get that office away from Donald Trump, because they need our votes desperately. And I think the visual that I want to bring to your attention and the audience's attention is the one with recently when Nancy Pelosi and company had the kente cloths on and they were kneeling. And it's like, all right. So you went from I mean, I'm already on your page on most of what you're saying. But when I saw that picture, I was like, you know what? They shouldn't have listened to Nancy. They should not have done that. Like, and if they wanted to win, if they didn't want this to get out, if they didn't want people like yourself looking at them with the side eye and then talking, they should not have done the Kenta Claw thing, because that is akin to appropriating culture, right? It's as bad as, stealing race records and not paying the artist for it, right? You think it's like, it's almost sacred, the Kenta Claw, right? It would have been one thing. Now, just from my PR perspective, I'm going to tell you all how I would have done it. She should have been the only one with the Kenta cloth on, and let the men just. The men should not have even bowed. If I'm trying to get them elected, if I'm trying to get the Democrats elected, I wanted a public or PR photo op. I would have hung that on Nancy Pelosi only, and I would not have her walk in with the Kenta cloth around her, right? I would have asked some other person to give it to her and let her be the only one to do it, but not with anybody else around. That sends a stronger message and a more authentic message, in my opinion, as authentic as it can be. Because once you have old men from the establishment, all with Kenta cloth on, all following Nancy Pelosi, all bowing, can't get up, then you know you got the jig is up. So Linda, I concur 100%. They need our vote. We don't necessarily know how they know that
they need our vote.
They know the statistics.
Let me say that somebody of African descent came out and busted them for wearing those cloths. I just saw her video. But here's the thing. Here we go back to symbolicism. Yes. People, if you don't research, don't take people, not even me, face value for what I say. Go research it, okay? The former administration, presidential administration, are in cahoots with the Muslim Brotherhood. So this is my interpretation of what I saw, what you just said. First, you insult the Black people by putting the kente cloth on. All you needed, all they needed was one more image, okay, kneeling, and I'm not going to go there, okay? And you could say, all right, you're in bed with the Muslim Brotherhood, okay? People don't understand. And here's, from a person who wasn't saved, who used her gifts badly. Yes, I used to do tarot cards. I was clairvoyant, okay? And I repented and I got saved. That was not how God wanted me to use my gifts. My bone picking with those people who are in things that aren't good, witchcraft, the whole 9 yards, that stuff is real. And the Lord let me know there's a very thin line between dark and light, okay? So that you have people out here, and I can show you stuff on Twitter that are people who are in witchcraft, who are praying witchcraft and ritualistic things. So a lot of stuff that's happening that we see, we're not capable of deciphering and decoding what's going on. And so for all we know, they could have been doing a ritual right there.
Yes.
Now let's go back to when they I forgot who they were brought before Congress, but he pulled the chicken out and put this chicken and then brought a bucket of chicken in, okay? What most people don't know, that was ritualistic. Chickens are used in rituals of sacrifice.
Right.
Okay, so whoever they were trying, I forget who they would bring, I think it was Barr or somebody.
Who?
What they were saying, whoever they were bringing into Congress to testify.
Into the administration.
Yes, the hearing. They laid their ritualistic chicken out there, and then bought a bucket of chicken. You eat the chicken. People gotta understand. You gotta know what you're looking at.
Right.
So
well,
what they were sending was a sacrifice, a ritual, like, we're gonna eat you, okay?
Oh,
We're gonna,
okay.
okay. See, unless you've been on the other side, you don't know what you're looking for.
Well, look.
Okay.
I want to quickly bring up Candace Owens because I mentioned briefly on my Facebook page that Candace Owens had points, right? She had good points.
Yes.
And this was the video I watched. I watched her video from her own phone. I guess she made this on her own phone, and a lot of people, a lot of hate toward her. And let me just make it clear, the thing that resonated with me was, and I'll give you what I thought and then the antithesis of this.
Okay.
That worshiping in the Black community, we do not celebrate success of so-called good people or accomplished people, that we would celebrate somebody that's coming home from jail or someone who is on the outs, or that sort of thing, that sometimes we can't see. We don't see the good in our own community. So although this man, his death is tragic and no one deserves to be killed that way, she has a problem, I guess, in some respect with some of the things that you started to see regarding his background. Now, on the flip side, sometimes the message is not the messenger, it is the message, right? And even when, I'm gonna throw something else out at you. Even when evil, so-called evil, tries to orchestrate things in their favor, sometimes there's a higher power that ultimately turns whatever they put into play for their own gain and shines light on the particular thing, and they end up losing anyway. And we've seen this time after time in this presidency. We've seen it time and time with regard to all of these different events that are occurring. So, I mean, I say that to, it's a long lead up to the question, what is it that you specifically think is important about what Candace Owens said, or Candace Owens as a person?
Okay. I think we come from two different perspectives. My overall concern is I want us to move the wedge of fear between the races, and I stop using our Black people as the vehicle to drive racism. We have to come to the table. We have to talk about this. I understand where Candace is coming from, and I agree with what she said. Okay. And if you look at the Black people going back to using us to fight their battles, basically, to spark things, we're the only race of people who hasn't gotten it together. We don't celebrate each other. We don't push our children to prosperity, okay? And this isn't something I don't know about. I've experienced it as a volunteer at a recreation center, where I went in to teach writing because my minor at Hollins was writing, creative writing. I have a few things published. I was teaching the kids to write, and we had some great talent in there. So I said, well, why don't you go home and work on this? And the kid told me, I got homework. I ain't doing this. I'm like, what? We don't push our kids to do their best. And as my dad would say, he said, I don't care if you're a ditch digger, be the best ditch digger you can be. I don't care what my children become. I just want them to be the best. And for my oldest son, I pushed, whatever he wanted to do. I laid the tools and the path there for him to achieve what it is that he is doing now. And he's a computer animator in California. He does excellent work, and he's achieved a lot. but we don't celebrate ourselves. We have the spirit of victimization on us. And as a whole, America is still wounded. Okay, as I said, there's no race of people who are exempt from this. Okay, we are wounded, but the Black people, we are victimized. We're still victimized from our ancestors, what they experienced. I'm not saying do away with what our ancestors have done. I say build upon what they have done. There are opportunities out here for us to gain much. You just have to take the steps to step out there and do it. So I understand what Candace was saying, okay? Other cultures is evidence. You got cultures coming over here, wiping us up in entrepreneurship with businesses, and the next thing you know, Joe got another business down the street with another family. We don't know how to duplicate and multiply and duplicate. There was another comment by Sonny Johnson that did with President Trump, right? When he brought the Black leaders to the table. And I have to agree with her, because now I got two bones to pick. The one bone is that we victimize ourselves. We're like crabs in a barrel. We are jealous. Now, these are things I've experienced. We are jealous because the whole thing when I was president for the foster parent, okay, I came up with the people that were on board, a 10-region plan to advocate for our foster parents, our resource parents. At the same time, I'm fighting the past president who killed the fruit that I had, and the Department of Social Services, because I brought people to the table, including a senator who handed this person their butt on a platter, right, in the session. I'm bringing people together. So I'm dealing with crabs in a barrel instead of looking at the brighter picture, how we can fix this. So I got that bone to pick with our Black people. We need to wake up and rise up and grab the opportunities that are before us. Now I'm going to jump to the Republican Party. I went to an event that was Democratic. It was a protest, and there were a few Republicans that spoke, and they spoke well. So when it was over, I went to the Republican and I said, where are we? Okay. Let me just say, I am conservative. I consider myself independent, but the Lord has let me know you're going to have to pick a party, because at some point your party affiliation is going to mean something. Yes, I am a Republican. Okay. But let me tell you, if Republicans turn from Paul to Saul, Linda's out of here. Okay. But let me just say, the Republicans got to get their head in this race, this game. They have to visually see the Republicans in the Black communities. Now, if you think I don't know what I'm talking about, I did a season stomping boots on the ground for a Republican candidate, a female, Christian female, in a predominantly Black neighborhood community in Georgia, okay? And this is an election about values, okay? Value of life, of children, babies, value of the Second Amendments, right to have arms, freedom of speech, whole families, okay? I did the whole spear. They don't want to hear it. And so I told the Republican candidate how to win. You need to be boots on the ground in the community. So that's my bone to pick with the Republicans. They need, and I got what Candace was saying, okay? I got it. Like I said, I don't condone this use of George Floyd being murdered. That's what we saw. Yeah. It's wrong. No human being should be treated like that. But I understand what she's saying. Let me ask you
another question, because we're running long, but I want to know, there are going to be people that are saying, okay, this sort of racism, I mean, you say, okay, we're victims, we're this, we're that. this racism has been going on for a long,
Yes.
long time. So you do not refute the fact that it does exist in American life for a lot of people, for most
Yes. Yes.
Black people, and that things have happened to both you and me, everybody that is that calls himself Black or African American, um, in terms of racism. I mean, it's intertwined in our society,
Yes.
right? It's intertwined and it's multifaceted. I would just
Yes.
add that one of the issues that I have is that it's not a zero-sum game, you know, white against Black, period. That there are layers to it, there are different nuances to it, and it's within the Black community as well as whites perpetrating on Blacks. And it's not, you know, it's not as cut and dry as is being portrayed currently on television. That's my thing,
Yes.
right? So it's
Yes.
one of the reasons why I think it was important to present you as one of the people on the channel. Your views are alternative to what most are even thinking. And look, that's my job. You guys, you know, I'm a Black man, American, almost 53 almost. And so I've seen a lot of things, right? And I think it's important that people like myself and others who aren't, that have a perspective, that have a story, that they get their stories shared with the people. Let me ask you quickly, what are your plans now? I mean, you have all this information, you get the information, it comes, you're up at night and things, you know, what are you planning to do short term as a result of the video on the 31st and the video that you did after the dentist? It seems like this is what I think, since the election is coming up soon, it's going to be like hell on wheels from
Oh
now
yeah.
until
Yes.
November, and even after
Yes.
November.
Yes.
Right. So it's almost like, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? How do you see yourself moving through the next couple of months?
I have been dormant in the 9 years that I've been here in Georgia. So I'm hanging my advocacy shingles back out. I'm getting my boots on the ground. I am developing a platform called Pit and Divide. Because what? Pit and Divide.
Pit and Divide, okay.
And Divide. I am active prayer intercessor on Melissa Legg's Strike Force prayer line. I do that 3 days. That's just a tip. Because of how I pray, people have come to recognize my voice. I do not play when it comes to prayer.
Okay.
Very powerful prayer warrior. And I pray because words are important and they do empower. So I've come to meet people, a lot of people through that. So I'm hooking up with like-minded people who are concerned about what we see. I am actively right now in the planning stage to put together a dialogue table where I believe in the olive branch. And I think we need to come to the table, everyone, and talk and figure this thing out and figure how we're going to bridge on one accord and stand as one. Okay, how we're going to remove the weapons out of the enemy's hand so that we can be a whole nation and not this divided, wounded nation that we see right now. And the other thing the Lord has let me know, you know, Joshua was like 80 when he went to the promised land. And so for all of us mature, senior, golden age people, our job's not done. We need, because when we leave this earth, we leave the millennials and the younger kids. What do we leave them? So it's important that in what I do, that I include the young people, which is what I tried to do when I was president for the Foster Parent Association. They didn't want the young people at the table. We can't resolve this leaving them out, because it's them who we're leaving this to. So I think dialogue is important, and pulling the covers off of all the lives. I strongly believe that America was deceived from the conception And I know so because of what I pray and what the Lord has shown me and what I know, what I research.
Mm-hmm.
We are in deception, and it's time for the truth to come out, because the truth is going to set us free. Don't take my word or David's word for it. Research. Our people don't research. That's another thing. We don't research. We don't want to be educated. We don't want to research. We just take everything at face value. I know what I know because of what comes to me in prayer, and then the Lord almost always presents the physical evidence of what I need to know. So my job between now and whenever I leave this earth, okay, is to bring the olive branch, to bring the one accord, to stand as one, and to make sure that truth is told so that we can know how to live.
Okay. Well, look, I'm gonna let that be the last word. I mean, that's a great way to end the segment. Now we had some bumps, like video bumps in the beginning. So when you review it again, you'll see that. But at the end, toward the second half, it's mostly clear, right? So I'm gonna put that as a warning or something, you know, when I write it.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is great. Linda, it's been great dialoguing, because look, we used to talk like this, and a number of people that went to the University of Pennsylvania with me back in the day, we used to talk like this on a regular when we lived in this place called Du Bois College House, right? And I think part of what I want to do, or part of what I'm doing with this interview series, is trying to get human contact as best we can back into the mix. And I think, you know, technology is great, but what it's done, it has fractured us in so many different ways, including emotionally, you know, because we're not as connected with one another as we should be. And that includes our family, that includes our friends in the broader community. So I want to thank you for, you know, taking the time and contributing, and, you know, I will be in touch with you shortly.
I'm hoping that we can have more of these, because people need to know the truth.
All right.
And the truth will set you free.
No, you heard it. So anyway, thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
And talk to you very, very, very soon, okay?
All righty. Bye-bye.
All right, love you.
Love you too.
Bye-bye.